Security! Remove this homeless vagrant from our executive floor immediately! Manager Patricia Williams grabbed Marcus Johnson's worn messenger bag and yanked hard. The bag tore open, spilling contents across Meridian Corporation's marble floor. She kicked his notebook toward the elevator, then ground his boarding pass under her $800 Christian Louboutin heel until it shredded. "Don't touch anything else, you filthy!" Marcus stood perfectly still. Conference Room B loomed behind Patricia, where 8 executives waited inside. The wall clock showed 9:47 a.m., 13 minutes until the biggest meeting in company history. Patricia blocked the doorway completely, arms spread like a human gate. Her manicured fingers pointed at Marcus's faded jeans and white button-down shirt. "This floor is for people who matter. Have you ever been treated like garbage by someone who had absolutely no idea who you really were?" 9:48 a.m. Marcus crouched to collect his scattered belongings. Patricia's heel came down inches from his fingers. "Don't you dare touch company property with those dirty hands!" He paused, looking up from the marble floor. "Ma'am, I have a 10 a.m. meeting scheduled in this room." "Shut up!" Patricia's voice echoed through the corridor. "I don't care what lies you're telling. This is the Apex Capital Partnership meeting. Executives only." She positioned herself wider in the doorway, a designer blazer stretching across her frame. Behind the glass, executives glanced toward the commotion. A few pulled out phones. Marcus stood slowly, brushing dust from a first-class Delta boarding pass. Patricia didn't notice the seat number, 2A, or the destination, ATL NYC. 9:49 a.m. Jennifer Martinez from marketing walked by, coffee in hand. She slowed, watching Patricia tower over Marcus like a prison guard. "Is everything okay here?" Jennifer asked. Patricia didn't turn around. "Mind your own business, Jennifer. I'm handling a security situation." Jennifer's thumb found her phone's camera app. She'd worked at Meridian for 3 years, watching Patricia's pattern. This felt different. Worse. The live stream started with 0 viewers. 9:50 a.m. "You have exactly 30 seconds to leave this floor," Patricia announced, loud enough for the conference room to hear. "Or I'm calling the police for criminal trespassing." Marcus reached into his jacket pocket. Patricia stepped back, hand moving toward her desk phone. "Just getting my ID," Marcus said quietly. He pulled out a leather wallet, worn but expensive. Patricia caught a glimpse of platinum plastic before he closed it again. American Express Centurion card, the kind that required a $10,000 annual fee and 7-figure spending. She blinked. Homeless people didn't carry black cards. 9:51 a.m. Jennifer's live stream counter read 47 viewers. Comments started flowing. "What company is this?" "Someone's about to get fired." "This is 2024. How is this happening?" Senior manager David Brooks emerged from the elevator, checking his watch. The Apex meeting was his promotion opportunity. Everything had to be perfect. "Patricia, what's the disturbance?" "We can't have chaos when our partners arrive." She pointed at Marcus with a manicured finger. "This individual claims he belongs in our most important meeting of the year." David looked Marcus up and down the faded jeans, scuffed leather shoes, simple white shirt. Then he glanced through the conference room glass at the assembled executives in $3,000 suits. "The service elevator is that way, buddy," David said, pointing toward the freight area. "Maintenance should have briefed you on protocol." 9:52 a.m. Marcus remained perfectly still. No anger, no frustration, just that same calm expression, almost like he was watching a performance. "I'm not maintenance," he said softly. Patricia laughed, sharp and cruel. "Right, and I'm the Queen of England." Jennifer's viewer count hit 156. The comments were getting heated. "Someone identify this company. This is workplace discrimination live. That woman is absolutely vile." 9:53 M. Through the conference room glass, CEO Helen Morrison checked her Rolex. She looked toward the commotion outside, frowning. "Has anyone heard from Marcus Johnson yet?" she asked the room. Apex Capital's lead negotiator should have been here by now. CFO Robert Brooks shrugged. "Maybe he's stuck in traffic. You know how these New York types are about timing." Helen stood, walking toward the door. "This deal represents our entire future. We can't afford delays." She cracked the door open just as Patricia raised her voice again. "I don't care if you think you have an appointment. I don't care what story you've invented. You are not entering this meeting room." 9:54 a.m. Patricia's building intercom crackled to life. She pressed the call button. "Security to conference room B immediately. Trespasser refusing to comply with removal orders." Jennifer's live stream hit 298 viewers. Someone had shared it on LinkedIn. Marcus glanced at his phone. The screen lit up briefly, showing a text notification. The contact name was visible for just a moment before he pocketed the device. Jennifer caught it on camera. So did viewer number 312, who paused the stream and took a screenshot. The contact read, "Helen Morrison, CEO Direct." 9:55 a.m. Two security guards stepped off the elevator. Tom Rodriguez, the senior guard, had worked building security for 8 years. He'd seen everything from corporate espionage to executive meltdowns. But something felt off about this situation. The supposed trespasser stood with perfect posture, no nervous energy. His clothes were simple but clean. His shoes were scuffed but expensive leather, and he carried himself like someone accustomed to boardrooms. "What's the situation?" Tom asked Patricia. "This vagrant infiltrated the executive floor. He's trying to disrupt our biggest partnership meeting of the year." Tom studied Marcus carefully. "Sir, do you have any identification?" Patricia interrupted before Marcus could respond. "Don't listen to whatever fake documents he shows you. Just remove him." 9:56 a.m. Helen Morrison opened the conference room door wider, scanning the hallway scene. Her eyes moved from Patricia's aggressive stance to David's crossed arms to the two security guards flanking a man in jeans. "Patricia, what exactly is happening out here? Our Apex representative should be arriving any moment." Patricia turned, chest puffing with pride. "Don't worry, Ms. Morrison. I prevented this homeless person from disrupting your meeting. I've protected the entire negotiation." Helen's gaze lingered on Marcus. Something familiar about his face, but she couldn't place it. 9:57 a.m. Jennifer's live stream had exploded to 847 viewers. The video was being shared across Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Hashtags were forming organically. #Meridian, meeting, #workplace. Discrimination, #live karma. Comments flooded in faster than anyone could read. "This is Meridian Corporation. I looked up the logo." "That man looks familiar. Where have I seen him?" "Someone Google reverse image search his face." "Patricia is about to become internet famous." David checked his watch nervously. "We're supposed to start in 3 minutes. Where is Marcus Johnson?" Marcus spoke for the first time in several minutes. "That's a very good question." 9:58 a.m. Patricia spun toward Marcus. "Did I give you permission to speak?" Tom, the security guard, held up a hand. "Ma'am, let's keep this professional. Sir, can you please show us some identification?" Marcus reached slowly into his jacket. Patricia tensed, ready to call for backup. The leather wallet emerged again. This time, Marcus opened it deliberately. Inside, 3 business cards were visible in the front slot. He pulled out the first one. 9:59 a.m. The card was simple, elegant. White stock with black lettering. Patricia snatched it before Tom could take it. She read it once, then twice, her face cycling through confusion, recognition, and pure horror. The live stream counter hit 1,247 viewers. David leaned over Patricia's shoulder to read the card. His face went white. Helen Morrison stepped closer, squinting at the small text. The conference room had gone completely silent. All 8 executives were pressed against the glass, watching the drama unfold. Jennifer zoomed in with her phone camera, making sure the live stream caught every detail. The business card read, Marcus Johnson, Senior Partner, Apex Capital Ventures, the same Marcus Johnson they'd been waiting for. The man Patricia had been calling a vagrant for the past 12 minutes. 10:00 a.m., the meeting time. The digital clock above conference room B flipped to 10 o'clock exactly. Inside, 8 executives shifted uncomfortably in leather chairs. The biggest deal in Meridian Corporation's history was supposed to begin now. Outside, Patricia Williams stared at the business card like it might burst into flames. "This is fake," she whispered. Then louder, "This is obviously a fake card." She waved it in the air, her voice echoing off marble walls. "Anyone can print business cards. I could make one saying, 'I'm the president.'" Marcus stood with his hands behind his back, watching her panic unfold. Jennifer's live stream counter climbed past 1,500 viewers. Comments exploded in real time. "Oh snap, he's the Apex guy. Patricia is so fired. This is better than reality TV." 10:01 a.m. David Brooks grabbed the card from Patricia's trembling fingers. His promotion prospects flashed before his eyes. If this was really Marcus Johnson, if they'd just spent 15 minutes humiliating Apex Capital's lead negotiator. "We need to call Apex Capital right now," David said, pulling out his phone. "Verify this immediately." "Don't you dare," Patricia snapped. "I know a con artist when I see one. Look at his clothes. Look at his shoes." Tom Rodriguez, the senior security guard, stepped forward. 8 years of experience told him something major was happening. The supposed vagrant's composure, the expensive wallet, the CEO's growing concern, all the pieces pointed one direction. "Ma'am," Tom said quietly to Patricia, "maybe we should slow down here." Patricia whirled on him. "Are you questioning my judgment, Tom? I'm a senior manager. He's a homeless person with fake business cards." 10:02 a.m. Helen Morrison opened the conference room door fully, stepping into the hallway. Her $4,000 Armani suit contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. "What is the meaning of this disruption?" Her voice carried the authority of someone who'd built a company from nothing. "We have the most important meeting in our corporate history starting right now." Patricia straightened, chest puffing with misplaced pride. "Ms. Morrison, I've successfully protected your meeting from this infiltrator. He's been trying to con his way into the Apex partnership discussion." Helen's eyes moved to Marcus, studying his face more carefully. Something clicked in her memory. A photograph, a LinkedIn profile, a Forbes article. "What's your name?" she asked him directly. Before Marcus could respond, Patricia interrupted. "Don't listen to him. He'll lie." "I asked him. Not you," Helen said coldly. 10:03 a.m. Jennifer's phone battery dropped to 23%, but she kept filming. The live stream had hit 2,100 viewers and was still climbing. Someone had created a Twitter thread tracking the entire incident. #Patricia Gate was starting to trend. Viewers were conducting their own investigation. Found his LinkedIn, Marcus Johnson, Harvard MBA. Holy shit, he closed the Steinberg deal last year. $2.3 billion. He's on Forbes' 40 under 40 list. Patricia just destroyed her career on live stream. Marcus finally spoke, his voice calm as still water. "My name is Marcus Johnson." Patricia laughed, a sharp, hysterical sound. "See? He's just repeating what he heard us say. Classic con artist behavior." 10:04 a.m. 2 additional security guards emerged from the elevator. Word had spread through the building's security network major incident on the executive floor. The hallway was now crowded. Patricia, David, 3 security guards, CEO Helen Morrison, Jennifer filming, and Marcus at the center of it all. Inside the conference room, the executives had given up any pretense of waiting politely. They stood at the glass wall, watching the drama like it was theater. CFO Robert Brooks opened the door and stepped out.
Helen, we really need to start. Where is the Apex representative?
Patricia jumped at the opportunity.
That's what I've been trying to tell everyone. This vagrant is pretending to be your Apex contact.
Robert looked at Marcus, then at Patricia, then at the business card David was still holding. "May I see that?" Robert asked. 10:05 a.m. David handed over the card reluctantly. Robert had worked in corporate finance for 22 years. He knew every major player in the acquisition world. His face went through the same transformation Patricia's had, but in reverse. Confusion melted into recognition, then into absolute horror. "Patricia," he said slowly, "do you have any idea what you've done?" She crossed her arms defiantly. "I've protected our company from a con artist." Robert turned the business card around, showing her the back. Embossed in small letters, Licensed Investment Advisor, Series 63, 66, 7, Harvard Business School MBA 2015. "These credentials can be verified in 30 seconds, Robert said quietly. "Series licenses are federal registrations. You can't fake them." 10:06 a.m. The live stream peaked at 2,847 viewers. Someone had shared it in a corporate finance WhatsApp group, and word was spreading through New York's financial district like wildfire. Comments were brutal. "Meridian Corporation stock is going to tank tomorrow. This is the most racist thing I've seen this year. Screenshot everything before they delete it. Someone needs to save this video." Patricia felt the walls closing in, but doubled down. "Anyone can look up license numbers online. He probably stole some real advisor's information." Helen Morrison pulled out her iPhone. "Then let's call Apex Capital's main office right now. Settle this immediately." Marcus raised one hand slightly. "That won't be necessary." His tone had shifted, still calm, but with an undercurrent of steel that made everyone stop talking. 10:07 a.m. "I think," Marcus said, reaching into his jacket again, "we can resolve this more directly." Patricia tensed, ready to call out another fake document. The security guards shifted position, uncertain where this was heading. Marcus withdrew a second business card from his wallet. This one was different, thicker stock, gold embossing, the kind reserved for C-level executives. He held it up so everyone could see, but didn't hand it to anyone yet. The card read, "Apex Capital Ventures, Marcus Johnson, Senior Partner and Lead Negotiator, Meridian Corp. Acquisition. Project Titan, 10:08 a.m. The hallway went completely silent. Even the live stream comments paused for a moment before exploding again. Helen Morrison's face was drained of color. Project Titan was the internal code name for the Apex deal. Only 5 people in the entire company knew that designation. "How do you know about Project Titan?" Helen whispered. Marcus smiled for the first time since this began. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Because I named it." Patricia's world tilted on its axis. Project Titan was real. It was classified. And this man she'd called a vagrant knew details that only the highest levels of both companies possessed. 10:09 a.m. Robert Brooks stepped closer to Marcus. "Sir, if you're really from Apex Capital, then you know this meeting was scheduled to begin 9 minutes ago." "I'm aware," Marcus replied. "I've been trying to attend for the past 22 minutes. Your colleague has been physically preventing me from entering the conference room." He gestured toward Patricia, who was now backed against the wall, still clutching hope that this was all an elaborate con. "That's impossible," she stammered. "You can't be... Look at you." Marcus turned to face her directly. "Look at me and see what exactly?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Every person in that hallway knew exactly what Patricia had seen, what she'd assumed, what she'd decided based on nothing but appearance. 10:10 a.m. Jennifer's phone was overheating from the live stream, but she couldn't stop recording. This was the moment everyone was waiting for, the complete unraveling of Patricia's prejudice. The comments were coming too fast to read. She's about to get destroyed. Say it, Patricia. We all know what you thought. This is justice in real time. Screen recording everything. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She couldn't say what she'd really seen, a black man in simple clothes, and immediately assumed the worst. Couldn't admit that she'd never once considered he might belong there. Tom Rodriguez, the security guard, quietly stepped away from Patricia. His 8 years of experience were screaming that he needed distance from whatever was about to happen. 10:11 a.m. Helen Morrison looked at her watch, then at Marcus, then at the conference room full of increasingly agitated executives. Mr. Johnson, I sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding. Can we please start the meeting? We've already lost 11 minutes. Marcus didn't move toward the conference room. Instead, he pulled out his phone and held it up so everyone could see the screen. Before we begin, he said quietly, I think everyone should understand exactly what just happened here. The phone displayed a Twitter thread with 847 retweets. Live. Meridian Corp manager physically blocking Black Apex Capital negotiator from $300 partnership meeting, calling him vagrant and homeless. This is happening right now. 10:12 a.m. Patricia's legs nearly gave out. The incident wasn't just witnessed by people in the hallway, it was viral. Her face, her words, her actions were being shared across the internet in real time. Mr. Johnson, Helen said desperately, surely we can discuss this privately after the meeting. No, Marcus said simply. We are discussing this now, in front of everyone. Just like Ms. Williams chose to humiliate me in front of everyone. He looked around the crowded hallway, at David who'd joined the discrimination, at the security guards who'd been called to remove him, at Jennifer, who'd documented everything, at the executives pressed against the glass. The question isn't whether we can start the meeting 11 minutes late, Marcus continued. The question is whether we should have a meeting at all. 10:13 a.m. The live stream hit 3,200 viewers. Someone had alerted major financial news outlets. Bloomberg and Reuters were already drafting stories. Patricia made one final, desperate attempt. Mr. Johnson, I made a mistake. I sincerely apologize. Can't we just move forward? Marcus looked at her with the same calm expression he'd maintained throughout the entire ordeal. Ms. Williams, he said quietly, you spent 26 minutes physically blocking me from my own meeting, called me a vagrant and homeless person, demanded I be arrested for trespassing, and instructed security to remove me by force. He paused, letting each word sink in. And you did all of this while I remained completely calm and professional, while I tried to explain, while I showed identification, while I asked politely to simply enter the room I was supposed to be in. 10:14 a.m. So no, Marcus continued, I don't think we can just move forward. I think we need to have a very different conversation about what just happened here, why it happened, and what Meridian Corporation intends to do about it. He turned toward the conference room door. Shall we take this discussion inside? I believe I have some things to share with the group that might put this incident in its proper context. Marcus walked toward conference room B. This time, nobody blocked his path. Patricia slumped against the wall, watching her career disappear into the internet forever. Jennifer ended her live stream. 10:15 a.m. Conference room B. Marcus entered the conference room he should have been leading for 15 minutes. 8 executives sat frozen around the mahogany table. Behind him filed the witnesses. Helen Morrison, Patricia Williams, David Brooks, Robert the CFO, and Jennifer still clutching her phone. Marcus walked to the head of the table and opened his laptop bag, withdrawing a manila folder. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what should have been the Meridian Apex Partnership discussion. Patricia hovered near the door, ready to bolt. 10:16 a.m. Before we begin, Marcus said, placing the folder on the table, everyone should understand what just occurred. He projected his phone onto the room's display screen. Twitter showed #Meridian meeting with 12,400 tweets climbing rapidly. Video clips looped endlessly. Patricia calling him vagrant, blocking the doorway, demanding his arrest. This incident has been viewed by 50,000 people in 25 minutes. Bloomberg, Reuters, and Wall Street Journal are already reporting. CFO Robert Brooks's face went gray, calculating stock price implications. 10:17 a.m. Marcus opened the manila folder, revealing 3 documents. First, Meridian Corporation's financial dependency analysis. He held up a sheet marked Survival Probability Matrix. Your Q4 revenue, $47.2 million. Quarterly deficit without partnership, $11.8 million. Cash reserves, sufficient for 4.3 months at current burn rate. The room fell silent except for the air conditioning hum. Without Apex partnership, Meridian has a 23% probability of remaining solvent through Q2 next year. Helen Morrison's hands trembled, reaching for her water glass. 10:18 a.m. Second, legal liability assessment for today's incident. Marcus opened a document with yellow tabs. Under New York State Civil Rights Law Section 40C, workplace discrimination creates corporate and personal liability. Patricia's breathing became shallow. Corporate liability for recorded discrimination, $2.4 to $15.7 million in settlements. Personal liability for perpetrators, $75,000 to $500,000 per incident. He looked directly at Patricia. We have 28 minutes of recorded incidents. David Brooks felt sick doing the mental math. 10:19 a.m. But those are just numbers. The real question is what this reveals about Meridian's institutional culture. Marcus walked around the table slowly. Ms. Williams felt comfortable physically blocking a visitor, using terms like vagrant, demanding arrest without cause. That comfort suggests a pattern. Tom Rodriguez nodded grimly. He'd seen Patricia's behavior before, just never with 50,000 witnesses. So before discussing a $300 million partnership, Apex needs assurance this represents aberration, not standard procedure. Helen Morrison spoke. Mr. Johnson, I guarantee Ms. Williams's actions don't represent our company values. Can you? Marcus interrupted gently. 10:20 a.m. Marcus withdrew the third document, leather-bound with gold lettering. Meridian Corporation, Board of Directors, Confidential Minutes and Member Directory. Everyone stared. Board minutes were restricted to board members only. How did you get that? Helen whispered. Marcus smiled the same quiet, knowing expression from the hallway. Excellent question. He opened a page marked with a red tab, displaying current board composition. 7 members with photographs and biographies. 10:21 a.m. Marcus turned the binder so everyone could see. At bottom right in the 7th position was a professional headshot of the man standing before them. Marcus Johnson. External Strategic Advisor and Voting Board Member appointed. March 15, 2024. Voting percentage, 23% of board decisions. Absolute silence. Patricia's face cycled through confusion, recognition, and complete horror. Marcus wasn't just Apex's negotiator. He was a Meridian board member. She'd spent 30 minutes humiliating someone with legal authority over her employment. 10:22 a.m. My appointment was confidential at both boards' request, external perspective without public disclosure complications. Marcus closed the binder gently. But Ms. Williams made confidentiality impossible. This incident created a PR crisis requiring full transparency about board oversight. Helen Morrison looked faint. Marcus, I never received notification. Only the governance committee knew, designed for revelation after partnership finalization, a strategic surprise announcement. He looked around at 8 shocked executives. Instead, it's revealed because your senior manager prevented me from attending my own meeting. 10:23 a.m. Patricia whispered, "You're on the board?" "I am." "Do you have voting power?" 23% of all decisions. "Including personnel decisions?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Including personnel decisions." Patricia slumped into the nearest chair, full weight of her situation clear. She'd humiliated a board member with power to terminate her employment. David Brooks wasn't far behind in realizing career implications. 10:24 a.m. Let's discuss what happens next. Marcus sat down, connecting his laptop to the presentation system. Crisis management. Immediate actions required appeared on screen. Apex prepared 2 scenarios. We hoped for Scenario A, successful partnership with gradual integration. Scenario A, 300 malware, partnership plus cultural integration displayed. Unfortunately, the past 30 minutes forced consideration of Scenario B. Next slide, Scenario B, partnership termination plus alternative acquisitions. 10:25 a.m. Scenario B involves Apex withdrawing and pursuing Henderson Group instead. Robert Brooks's head snapped up. Henderson was Meridian's primary competitor. Henderson deal worth $280 million, $20 million less than Meridian offer. But Henderson doesn't have videos of management calling our negotiators vagrants. Market impact analysis appeared. Apex Henderson partnership projects a 34% drop in Meridian stock within 72 hours. Henderson increases 28%. 10:26 a.m. But financial impact isn't the real concern. The concern is what this reveals about institutional bias. Marcus wrote on whiteboard, Patricia's assumptions. Black man in simple clothes equals vagrant polite explanation equal con artist lies. Professional behavior equals suspicious, expensive wallet equal stolen/fake business card equals forged. These weren't random assumptions. They followed a pattern Ms. Williams felt comfortable acting on in front of witnesses, including your CEO. Patricia wanted to disappear. Every assumption was accurate and undeniably biased. 10:27 a.m. Apex has a choice. Overlook this as isolated poor judgment and proceed, hoping it doesn't reflect broader issues. Marcus paused. Or view it as a symptom of deeper cultural problems making Meridian unsuitable for long-term partnership. Helen Morrison leaned forward. Surely one employee's actions shouldn't they? Patricia blocked me for 30 minutes. Multiple staff joined without intervention. Security was called. When does individual bias become institutional tolerance? 10:28 a.m. Apex Capital. Partnership requirements appeared on screen. If Meridian wants Scenario A, these conditions are non-negotiable. Immediate personnel review for all involved. Bias training for all management. Discrimination monitoring systems. Quarterly diversity audits by external firms. Public acknowledgement and corrective actions. Personal accountability for Williams and Brooks. Patricia's career was officially over. David's wasn't far behind. Alternatively, Apex cancels this meeting, initiates Henderson discussions, and avoids complications of partnering with organizations that treat people like me as criminals. 10:29 a.m. Marcus closed his laptop and looked around the table. So choose, Ms. Morrison. Save Meridian by implementing real change? Or explain to shareholders why you lost $300 million because your manager couldn't see past my skin color? He checked his watch. Take your time. I have nowhere else to be. Everyone knew there was only one choice that didn't end with bankruptcy. Patricia stared at her reflection in the polished table, watching the end of everything she'd worked for. The vagrant was the board member. The victim was the judge. Justice was about to be served at the corporate level. 10:30 a.m. The decision point. Helen Morrison stared at the PowerPoint slide showing Apex's non-negotiable requirements. Her company's survival depended on the next words out of her mouth. Mr. Johnson, she said carefully. Meridian Corporation accepts your conditions fully and without reservation. Patricia's head snapped up from the conference table. Helen, you can't just... Ms. Williams, Helen said coldly, you are no longer authorized to speak in this meeting. Marcus leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. Accepting conditions and implementing them are different things. I need specifics, timelines, and accountability measures. He opened his laptop again. Let's start with immediate personnel actions. 10:31 a.m. A new slide appeared. Personnel Review Matrix. Implementation Timeline. Ms. Williams. Immediate suspension pending full investigation. Mr. Brooks. Temporary demotion and mandatory bias training. Security staff. Retraining on visitor protocols. David Brooks's voice cracked. Marcus, surely my actions don't warrant... You joined the discrimination, Marcus interrupted. You assumed I was maintenance staff based on appearance. You directed me to service elevators while knowing an important meeting was about to begin. Marcus clicked to a recorded audio clip from Jennifer's live stream. David's voice played clearly. The service elevator is that way, buddy. Maintenance should have briefed you on protocol. That's not accidental bias, Mr. Brooks. That's active participation in humiliation. 10:32 a.m. Patricia finally exploded. This is insane. I made one mistake. I was protecting the company. Marcus turned toward her with laser focus. One mistake? Let's review the timeline. Another slide. Patricia Williams. Incident chronology. 9:47 a.m. Called me homeless vagrant, demanded security removal. 9:48 a.m. Physical blocking of conference room access. 9:49 a.m. Grabbed and destroyed my personal property. 9:50 a.m. Escalated to criminal trespassing accusations. Marcus continued scrolling. 9:53 a.m. Called building security with false emergency. 9:55 a.m. Instructed security to ignore my identification. 9:58 a.m. Threatened police arrest. 10:02 a.m. Insisted I was a con artist using fake business cards. Each timestamp had corresponding video evidence from Jennifer's live stream. That's 14 separate discriminatory actions over 15 minutes, Ms. Williams, not one mistake. 10:33 a.m. Robert Brooks, the CFO, leaned forward nervously. What are the financial implications of these personnel changes? Marcus pulled up a spreadsheet. Excellent question. Let's discuss Meridian's current financial position in detail. Meridian Corporation. Financial analysis filled the screen. Q4 revenue, $47.2 million. Q4 expenses, $52.1 million. Net quarterly loss, $4.9 million. Year-to-date losses, $18.7 million. The numbers were worse than most executives realized. Cash reserves, $23.1 million. Current burn rate, $5.2 million monthly. Without the Apex partnership, Meridian has 4.4 months of operational funding remaining. Helen Morrison's face went white. The situation was even more desperate than she'd thought. 10:34 a.m. Now let's discuss the Apex partnership terms, Marcus continued. Apex Meridian Partnership. Financial structure appeared. Initial capital injection, $75 million. Technology licensing fees, $125 million over 36 months. Market expansion funding, $100 million. Total partnership value, $300 million. Marcus looked around the table. This isn't just a business deal. It's Meridian's life support system. He clicked to the next slide. Alternative scenario, Henderson Group. Henderson Group alternative, $280 million total value, but spread over 60 months instead of 36. Monthly funding, $4.7 million versus Meridian's $5.2 million burn rate. Robert Brooks did the math quickly. Henderson wouldn't cover our operational costs. Correct. Henderson partnership results in continued quarterly losses, eventual bankruptcy, and 400-plus job losses within 18 months. 10:35 a.m. Patricia made one desperate attempt. Mr. Johnson, I'll do anything to make this right. I'll take sensitivity training. I'll publicly apologize. Marcus cut her off. Ms. Williams, this isn't about your personal redemption. It's about institutional accountability. He stood and walked to the whiteboard again, writing in clear block letters, systemic change requirements, immediate. Digital bias monitoring system installation. 30 days. All management bias training completion. 60 days. Anonymous reporting hotline implementation. 90 days. Third-party diversity audit completion. Ongoing. Quarterly bias incident public reporting. These aren't suggestions, Ms. Morrison. They're contractual requirements for partnership continuation. 10:36 a.m. Helen Morrison nodded frantically. Absolutely, whatever it takes. When can we begin implementation? Marcus returned to his seat and opened a new document. Implementation begins today, starting with the technology solution. Dignity check system. Technical specifications appeared on screen. AI-powered monitoring of all employee interactions, real-time bias detection through speech pattern analysis, facial recognition, and behavioral tracking. Cost, $1.2 million annually. David Brooks's eyes widened. That's a significant technology investment. Less significant than losing $300 million in partnership funding, Marcus replied dryly. 10:37 a.m. Marcus clicked the implementation details. The system monitors verbal interactions for discriminatory language, tracks physical positioning during conflicts, and flags unusual security calls. He looked directly at Patricia. If this technology existed yesterday, alerts would have triggered at 9:47 a.m. when you first called me vagrant. HR would have been notified within 30 seconds. Patricia realized the full implications. Future Patricias wouldn't get 15 minutes to destroy their careers and company partnerships. The system also creates permanent records for legal proceedings. Every interaction, every word, every gesture preserved for civil rights investigations. 10:38 a.m. Let's discuss legal compliance, Marcus continued, opening another document. New York Civil Rights Law. Section 40C analysis filled the screen. Yesterday's incident violated multiple federal and state discrimination statutes. The recorded evidence makes legal liability essentially certain. He scrolled through specific violations. Denial of equal access to company facilities based on race. Verbal harassment using racially coded language. False emergency calls to law enforcement. Intentional infliction of emotional distress through public humiliation. Corporate negligence in supervision and training. Individual liability for Ms. Williams, $75,000 minimum settlement. Corporate liability for Meridian, $2.4 million minimum, potentially $15.7 million, with punitive damages. 10:39 a.m. Patricia's voice was barely audible. Are you going to sue me? Marcus considered the question carefully. That depends entirely on Meridian's commitment to preventing future incidents. He clicked to a new slide. Accountability Matrix. Option A. Full implementation of systemic changes, public acknowledgement of yesterday's incident, and personal accountability measures. Legal action waived in exchange for documented reform. Patricia felt a flicker of hope. Option B. Partial compliance or resistance to change. Full legal proceedings initiated, including personal liability claims, EEOC complaints, and civil rights violations. The hope died instantly. 10:40 a.m. Helen Morrison leaned forward intently. What specifically do you mean by personal accountability measures? Marcus pulled up a detailed requirements list. Personal accountability. Patricia Williams. Immediate termination from Meridian Corporation. Public written apology. Acknowledging discriminatory behavior. Completion of 40-hour bias training program. 1-year industry probation with documented behavioral monitoring. $25,000 personal contribution to civil rights organizations. Personal accountability. David Brooks. 6-month demotion to associate manager level. $15,000 salary reduction during probationary period. 40-hour mandatory bias training completion. Public LinkedIn acknowledgement of discriminatory participation. Quarterly progress reports to Board Diversity Committee. Patricia stared at the list, watching her career evaporate in real time. 10:41 a.m. These measures ensure consequences match actions, Marcus explained. Ms. Williams chose to make discrimination public and recorded. Her accountability must be equally public and documented. He looked around the conference room. This incident has been viewed by 127,000 people across social media platforms. The response must demonstrate institutional seriousness about change. Tom Rodriguez, the security guard still standing by the door, cleared his throat. Mr. Johnson, what about security protocol changes? Marcus nodded approvingly. Excellent question, Tom. You showed appropriate hesitation yesterday when procedures didn't align with observations. Security protocol updates appeared on screen. Identity verification required before any removal requests. Supervisor approval mandatory for visitor ejections. Body camera, recording for all discrimination-related incidents. Bias recognition training for all security personnel. Direct reporting line to Board Diversity Committee. 10:42 a.m. The goal isn't punishment, Marcus said, closing his laptop. The goal is transformation. Meridian can become an industry leader in inclusive practices, or it can become a cautionary tale about institutional bias. He stood again, walking to the window overlooking the city 47 floors below. Yesterday, I was blocked from this room by someone who saw my clothes and made assumptions about my worth. Today I'm offering Meridian Corporation the choice between bankruptcy and becoming better. Marcus turned back to face the room. The financial partnership is contingent on cultural partnership. Apex Capital doesn't invest in institutions that treat people like yesterday's incident. 10:43 a.m. Helen Morrison stood as well. Mr. Johnson, on behalf of Meridian Corporation, I formally accept all conditions, timelines, and accountability measures. When do we begin? Marcus checked his watch. Implementation begins in 17 minutes, when this meeting officially ends and personnel actions take effect. He looked directly at Patricia. Ms. Williams, your access card will be deactivated at 11 o'clock a.m. Security will escort you to collect personal belongings. Patricia's shoulders sagged in complete defeat. Mr. Brooks, your new reporting structure begins Monday morning. HR will provide updated job descriptions and salary adjustments. David nodded glumly, calculating his financial losses. 10:44 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus said, returning to the head of the table, the Meridian Apex partnership begins now. Not with handshakes and champagne, but with commitment to ensuring yesterday never happens again. He opened his laptop one final time. The first $25 million of partnership funding will transfer this afternoon, contingent on signed implementation agreements. Helen Morrison's relief was visible. $25 million would stabilize operations immediately. The remaining $275 million transfers based on measurable progress in bias reduction, employee satisfaction improvements, and successful diversity audit completion. Marcus closed the laptop and gathered his materials. Any questions about expectations or timelines? The room was silent except for Patricia's quiet sobbing. Then this meeting is concluded. Implementation begins immediately. Justice had been served not with emotion or revenge, but with data, accountability, and systematic change that would outlast any individual's prejudice. 11 o'clock a.m. Implementation hour. Patricia Williams sat in Meridian's lobby, a cardboard box of belongings on her lap. Her access card lay dead on the security desk. 8 years of career advancement evaporated in 43 minutes of recorded discrimination. Tom Rodriguez approached professionally. Ms. Williams, I'll escort you to the parking garage. She looked up with red eyes. Tom, you know I'm not a bad person. I made a mistake. Tom's expression remained neutral. Ma'am, we all make choices. Some have bigger consequences. The same elevator she'd wanted Marcus removed through now carried her down for the final time. 11:30 a.m. Crisis Management. Helen Morrison stood in her office on conference call with legal, HR, and board members. Marcus sat across her desk, reviewing implementation contracts. Stock price dropped 3.2% in pre-market, reported CFO Robert Brooks. #PatriciaGate is trending number 4 on Twitter. The corporate attorney's voice crackled through speakers. Legal exposure is contained if we demonstrate good faith compliance with Mr. Johnson's reform proposal. Jennifer Martinez was simultaneously being promoted to Director of Inclusive Communications, a $35,000 raise for her moral courage in filming the incident. 12:00 p.m. Technology Implementation. Apex Capital's IT team arrived with dignity check system equipment. Dr. Amy Brooks explained the AI specifications. Every verbal interaction is analyzed for bias indicators. Facial recognition tracking body language during conflicts. Unusual security calls flagged for immediate review. Marcus walked through offices, observing employee reactions. Conversation stopped when he passed the vagrant from yesterday's viral video, now clearly in authority. The system goes live in 72 hours. Cost $1.2 million annually. One discrimination lawsuit costs more than 5 years of operation. 12:30 p.m. David's consequences. David Brooks cleaned out his senior manager office, moving 2 floors down to associate manager workspace. Yesterday, he was a VP candidate. Today, he was making $15,000 less with mandatory bias training ahead. His wife called, "David, the video is all over LinkedIn. Your friends are asking what happened." David stared at the live stream replay. His voice echoed, "The service elevator is that way, buddy." The casual cruelty was undeniable. He joined Patricia's discrimination without thought. 1:00 p.m. Media response. Helen Morrison faced cameras from Bloomberg, Reuters, CNN Business in Meridian's lobby. Jennifer Martinez coordinated the response strategy. "Yesterday, Meridian Corporation failed our values of inclusion," Helen read from prepared remarks. "A manager's discriminatory actions were inexcusable and don't represent our character." She detailed comprehensive reforms: dignity check system, anonymous reporting hotline, quarterly diversity audits, mandatory bias training. "Actions matter more than apologies. We're implementing changes to ensure this never happens again." 1:30 p.m. Patricia's public apology. Patricia sat in her car typing the required LinkedIn post. "Yesterday, I made inexcusable assumptions about Marcus Johnson based on appearance. I called him a vagrant, blocked his access, and demanded his arrest. My actions were discriminatory and harmful. I accept full responsibility and am beginning bias training, contributing $25,000 to civil rights organizations. Discrimination has no place in professional environments. I failed that standard and deeply regret my actions." The post received 1,247 comments within an hour. Most weren't sympathetic. 2:00 p.m. Anonymous reporting system. Marcus toured facilities with consultants implementing the bias reporting hotline. Every floor displayed posters with QR codes linking to confidential complaint forms. "Average response time under 4 hours, explained consultant Maria Rodriguez. "External reviewers prevent internal retaliation." Conference room B now had a small plaque. "Dignity and respect reminder point," with QR code, linking to bias reporting and inclusive behavior policies. 3:00 p.m. Employee training management filed into the auditorium for mandatory bias training. Dr. Patricia Washington from Columbia led sessions with case studies and role-playing exercises. "Discrimination begins with assumptions," she explained, playing audio from Jennifer's live stream. "Yesterday shows how assumptions become actions. Actions become career-ending mistakes." Several managers quietly wondered about their own assumptions, based on appearance rather than credentials. 4:00 p.m. Financial stabilization. The first $25 million from Apex hit Meridian's accounts at 3:47 p.m., stabilizing the cash position for 9 months. Every dollar of remaining $275 million earned through measurable progress, Robert noted. Partnership milestones included employee satisfaction surveys, bias incident reporting, diversity hiring metrics. This isn't charity, it's accountability. 5:00 p.m. Industry impact. Marcus received calls from 12 Fortune 500 companies requesting reform information. Word traveled fast. Discrimination cost partnerships, but systematic responses restored confidence. We're sharing best practices freely, Marcus told callers. Goal isn't a competitive advantage, it's an industry transformation. Apex's legal team was developing template accountability agreements. Yesterday's incident was becoming a corporate bias response case study. 6:00 p.m. Security protocol changes. Tom Rodriguez reviewed new protocols with his team: body cameras, identity verification requirements, supervisor approval for visitor ejections. Guy was too calm, too professional yesterday. I suspected something was wrong but followed her lead instead of instincts, Tom reflected. What would you do differently? His partner asked. Ask more questions. Verify before acting. Remember, assumptions about people are usually wrong. New protocols would force verification steps, preventing individual bias from becoming institutional discrimination. 7:00 p.m. Transformation assessment. Marcus sat in his hotel room reviewing implementation progress. Patricia terminated, David demoted, systems installed, training begun, media response delivered, anonymous reporting active. His phone showed 127 messages from colleagues who'd seen the viral video. He sent one reply to everyone. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about preventing the next person from experiencing what I experienced. Today, Meridian chose prevention over repetition. The transformation was beginning. Success depended on sustained commitment beyond initial crisis response. But for the first time in 24 hours, Marcus believed yesterday's humiliation might create lasting positive change. Whether Patricia learned from her public downfall, whether David genuinely transformed through his demotion, whether Meridian's reforms prevented future discrimination, those answers would come with time. Today was about creating systems that made discrimination harder to hide, consequences harder to avoid, and change harder to reverse. The intellectual victory was complete, not through revenge or emotion, but through data, accountability, and systematic transformation that would outlast any individual's prejudice. 6 months later, Meridian Corporation. The same marble corridors where Patricia Williams blocked Marcus Johnson now displayed Diversity Achievement Awards. Conference Room B hosted monthly Inclusion Advisory Committee meetings, part of Marcus's reform requirements. Jennifer Martinez, Director of Inclusive Communications, presented quarterly results to the board. 0 discrimination complaints. Employee satisfaction has increased 340% since implementation. The Dignity Check AI system logged 2.3 million interactions, flagged incidents, 7 minor bias alerts, all resolved through coaching rather than termination. The technology works, but the cultural shift runs deeper. People think before they speak. Patricia's consequences. Patricia Williams worked customer service at a small insurance firm, the only job available after viral infamy. Her LinkedIn discrimination apology had 847,000 views. Applications consistently resulted in canceled interviews. She'd completed required bias training and contributed $25,000 to NAACP Legal Defense Fund using proceeds from selling her house. I destroyed my life in 30 minutes, she told her therapist during weekly sessions. Maybe that's what it took to understand what I was doing to people. David's redemption. David Brooks addressed 200 executives at the National Diversity Leadership Conference. I joined discrimination without thinking. Saw a black man in simple clothes and assumed maintenance worker while our most important meeting was starting. He described his demotion and $15,000 salary loss. Bias has real costs for victims and perpetrators. My assumptions nearly cost my company $300 million. David was promoted back to senior manager after proving sustained change. His speaking fees fund biased education programs. Marcus's legacy. Marcus's Apex Capital office displayed a framed live stream screenshot, not as a trophy, but a reminder. He stood calmly while Patricia blocked the door. "Excellence doesn't require expensive clothes," he told Harvard students during monthly lectures. "It requires preparation, character, and refusing to let others define your worth." The incident sparked industry change. 47 companies implemented dignity check systems. The Johnson Protocol became the standard partnership language. Transformation results. CEO Helen Morrison walked through offices with 340% increased diversity hiring. Glassdoor rating improved from 2.1 to 4.7 stars. Retention hit 89%, saving $2.3 million in recruitment costs. Dignity Check investment paid for itself in 6 months, she told Bloomberg. The real return is cultural. People feel respected and valued. Meridian's stock recovered and increased 23% above pre-incident levels. The Apex partnership generated $847 million double projections. Industry impact. Tom Rodriguez became head of inclusive security operations. His protocols were adopted citywide. The incident generated 2.3 million social media interactions, becoming a Harvard Business Review case study. New York State passed the Workplace Dignity Act, requiring bias reporting systems for companies over 100 employees. When discrimination goes viral, change happens fast, noted sponsor Senator Maria Gonzalez. Smart companies prevent rather than react. Personal philosophy. Marcus reflected on the experience. The humiliation was real, anger justified. But channeling energy into systematic change created lasting impact beyond personal revenge. The most powerful response to being blocked isn't breaking down doors, he said in an interview. It's revealing you already hold the keys to the building. His global speaking message remained consistent. Preparation beats confrontation, data defeats discrimination, systems outlast individuals. Your turn. This story began asking, have you ever been blocked from something rightfully yours by someone who had no idea who you really were? It ends with different questions. What would you have done in Jennifer's position film Injustice or walk away? What assumptions do you make about people based on appearance rather than behavior? When you see discrimination, do you intervene or stay silent? The daily choice. Every day, people make split-second judgments about others' worth based on clothes, accent, or skin color. Most times, there's no viral video, no witnesses, no consequences. But there should be. Your Action Matters comment below. Share your workplace bias experience. Tag 3 companies that need better inclusion practices. Subscribe to Blacktail's Stories for more intelligence over ignorance narratives. Share this story with someone who needs to remember their worth.